Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for January 13th, 2026. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We got a lot to talk about. We have some Craig Stammen on foul territory. We'll talk about Joe Musgrove. If you're just getting off work, we just talked about Joe Musgrove and what Craig Stammen said about him and whether or not he has an innings limitation coming up this year. And so I will play that audio. We're also going to talk about the Alex Bregman contract because the Red Sox didn't want to include something that seems very simple to me. And then it got me going into like this rabbit hole of Red Sox Reddit. And so I went through a lot of comments just to kind of see what people are saying about their team not re-signing Alex Bregman. And the responses were very interesting, and it led me into this crazy rabbit hole about why the Red Sox are a small fish in a big pond, and I'll tell you why that is happening. Also, we have more talk about the NFL playoffs, the job openings for the head coaches, and then we have a daily gripe at the end. Joseph says on the chat, I missed you guys talking about the Ryan Weathers trade to the Yankees. We didn't talk about it because to us, it's not that, well, to me, it wasn't that big of a deal. Well, I guess it is kind of a deal. And Ryan Weathers, if you don't know, he is going from the Marlins to the Yankees, and it's for 4 prospects. So it's not like they traded big names or anything like that. Maybe one day there'll be a big name, but apparently they're looking at him to be a starter for them, so that he's going to be presumably a part of the Yankees rotation, which is Max Fried, Cam Schlittler, Will Warren, Ryan Weathers, and Luis Heel. And then keep in mind they have Garrett Cole coming back at some point because he had Tommy John last year. But the Yankees, this is a big old doesn't move the needle type of things. Doesn't move the needle for me, at least. I don't know. He had some moments here in San Diego, but it just wasn't working, and so he was traded, and now he's on the Yankees. All right, let's talk real quick about the foul territory interview with Craig Stammen. And the thing about Joe Musgrove that I have been thinking about, but I haven't talked about yet, is whether or not they are going to limit him this year. Because we always see that when players come off of a major, or when pitchers come off of a major injury like this, they usually have them on some sort of innings limit. And so the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking, I wonder if they will have an innings limit. We haven't actually like heard from the Padres at all about an innings limit. And so I'm glad that Foul Territory asked this question, but here's what they asked him. They asked him if he is, where is he at after missing all of 2025, and will there be an innings limit? Here's what Craig Stammen said.
Joe's in a great spot right now. He's been throwing bullpens regularly. He's ramping up for spring training. So far, so good, on schedule with everything. As you know, Joe is, as good of a teammate as you could ever have. He's as hard a worker as you could ever have. Some would say works too hard, which I don't know if there is such a thing, but he's a leader in our clubhouse, a leader within the whole organization, a leader in the city of San Diego. And so we're just looking forward to getting Joe back on the field. As far as the inning limits go, he's at a stage in his career where I don't think he's willing to entertain any innings limits. But we're going to be very cognizant of his recovery, how he's feeling after every outing. I'm not going to put a number on him. We've seen players come back from Tommy John and go through a full season pitching the playoffs. Adam Wainwright comes to mind, coming back from Tommy John and then pitching 230 innings the very next year. So no limit on Joe. He's a stud. We're going to take him as far as he's willing to go, and we're going to be smart about it too. So
I think that with Craig Stammen being a former pitcher, I think that he understands what he can get away with in regards to letting Joe Musgrove work through things, or whether or not that Joe Musgrove needs to maybe calm it down a little bit. But it sounded like Joe was ready to go. Not ready to go. It sounded like Joe was turning the corner on being ready to go at the end of last season. And so I have to think that this extra, off-season time that he's had is just going to put him in better shape. And I'm glad to hear that there's no innings limitations, because it's hard to go through a season and seeing all the injuries that happen to teams. It's hard to have a starting pitcher, one that you rely on a lot, be under an innings limitation, because you have to watch him throughout the year, and you're taking him out of games that maybe possibly he was pitching well in, and you just have to make the decision to take him out of games. And now Joe is a guy who's not going to put himself in danger or anything like that. Although he did try to finish out the at bat when he originally suffered the injury back against the Braves in the wild card series a couple years ago. So he tried to make it through the batter, and that just shows you how tough of a guy Joe Musgrove is. But not having innings limitation is a good thing, and it doesn't seem like Joe Musgrove is facing any setbacks or anything like that. Now, here's another one we didn't hear earlier on the show, but Yu Darvish out for the season after he got Tommy John surgery. And so AJ Przinsky talks to Craig Stammen about Yu Darvish. Here's what he thinks Yu Darvish is going to be like in 2026.
One Yu Darvish update. Where's he at? Because I've seen things where at one point, some people were saying he was contemplating retiring. Do we have a Yu Darvish update?
Yeah, Darvish had Tommy John surgery at the end of the season, so he's going to be rehabbing this whole season. He won't be playing. He won't be pitching. We'll see what that recovery timeline looks like, but he's been around the organization a lot already this offseason. He's got great relationships with some of the pitchers on our staff, especially the young guys like Randy Vasquez. Those two have turned into quite the pair and best buddies, and they're constantly, Darvish is constantly pouring into him, trying to motivate Randy and get him, learning how to do scouting reports the way Yusan has kind of done those throughout his career. So he's a big advantage that we have in our organization. He's going to play a similar role to what Joe did last year, is being around the team as much as possible, be a leader in the clubhouse and mentor those young guys and, try to help us win on the margin. So Darvish is a big part of the Padres still.
All right. I like that. For all you people out there that think Yu Darvish is just stealing money this year, or you should retire and give it up, I mean, maybe he should retire, but he would never, because that's what happens when you get hurt as a baseball player. But it's a good thing that Yu Darvish is as good of a dude as he is, because I do think that he's going to have an impact this year. And he's going to have an impact, obviously, in a way that we can't really measure. So maybe keep that in mind if Yu Darvish is brought up throughout the year and getting trashed. We don't really know what he's doing behind closed doors. But Yu Darvish has always seemed like a stand-up guy to me. And so I don't have any worries about Yu Darvish and what he's giving to the organization. I think that Yu Darvish is going to give to the organization exactly what needs to be given. And that's why I love the guy. All right. Here is another one from Craig Stammen talking about Luis Ariz. Would they want Luis Ariz back?
Luis is a great player. He was a great addition to our team the last few years, just in a culture standpoint and even like an attitude that he brought to the hitting group. He was always working, one of the hardest workers on the team, and always caring about his craft. And he takes his craft serious, as we know. We've seen him play, and multiple season batting champ. He brings a unique skill set to the team, a skill set that not many players bring. Doesn't strike out, makes a lot of contact, not a ton of power, but honestly, the last few years there wasn't too many people I'd rather have up at the plate, 2-out situation, runner in scoring position, because he was going to put a good at bat on. You knew he was going to put the ball in play, and he just had a unique ability of just shooting a line drive over the shortstop and scoring that runner from second. So, RBI is kind of a stat that the analytics departments don't.
I know we just talked about that. Analytics departments don't value RBIs, which I still don't understand how you don't value an RBI. Chris is breakdown of it was that RBIs are kind of lucky, and so they don't take it into account. But last time I checked, runs batted in is how you win a game. Some analytics I have come to like certain analytics, but there are some that are like, really? You people you don't value RBIs? How is that possible? And why are we listening to you whatsoever? You might be a smart person, but RBIs are how the game is won and lost, people. If you don't get any, you lose. If you do get RBIs, you have a good chance of winning. I know that's, very simple, but I still cannot believe that. But Luis Ariz, I've been reading a lot lately that it doesn't seem like they're going to be coming back together, the Padres and Luis Ariz. But my stance, as I've talked about over the weeks, I think Luis Ariz would fit perfectly with this team, at least for another couple years. They have an opening at first base. If they don't, at a certain point, have a legitimate first baseman, you can bring Luis Ariz back, and you know exactly what you're getting. I feel like Luis Ariz is going to have I think Luis Ariz is going to have a rebound year, because it doesn't seem like in his career he just has put up good numbers. So, and last year, like it's crazy. We're talking about 292 being a bad batting average for him, but last year 292 was, really at the top of the league. He had the most hits in the National League. So, I tend to want Luis Ariz back because he's an easy plug-in, and it's not just about being easy. He's a good teammate, and I think that turning away from Luis Ariz right now might be the wrong decision. Now, we don't know what he's asking to be paid. We don't know what kind of contract he's looking at, and he made $14 million last year in his last year of arbitration. I don't think that baseball teams are going to give him $14 million once again, but it all probably comes down to the dollars and cents. And if he is willing and able to accept something a little bit less, then maybe he'll be in a Padre uniform. But I don't believe that he was a $14 million player last year. So I think that's why he might have to accept a contract for a little bit less than what he has made previously. All right, that's Craig Stammen on Foul Territory. Every once in a while, I see Craig Stammen. I'm like, oh, yeah, he's the manager of the Padres. I don't know why I forget, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do here in the spring during spring training. I want to see what kind of manager he is and how he handles the media. You are listening to us broadcast live from the Bill House Studios. We know how. When we get back here on the Skraby Show, we're going to talk a little bit about Alex Bregman, and we're going to talk about why the Red Sox may have played themselves. So stay with me. This is the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan.
What can ADP do?
Matt Skraby back with you here in the Bill Howe Studios. We know how, 97.3 The Fan. You can watch the show if you would like. You can see what I look like and what I look like when I'm yapping. If you go to YouTube, you can go to 97.3 The Fan, or you can go to my YouTube at The Skraby Show. THE, the SKRAB as in boy, Y, Skraby Show, at The Skraby Show. So you can go there and subscribe to me there. Thank you to everybody who has already subscribed to me. I appreciate it. Also, go and subscribe to Gwen and Chris SD on YouTube if you can as well, because we just put up an overtime video yesterday. And the guys, I feel like, and I'm talking about Tony and Chris, I feel like they gaslight me a lot. And they gaslight me a lot about the 49ers. And so during the overtime video, they were trying to tell me that there was a penalty called in the game against the 49ers. It was their only penalty, one for 15 yards, and it was a personal foul, roughing the passer type thing. Not roughing the passer, but unnecessary roughness, where the guy it wasn't a penalty. It wasn't a penalty. But during the video, they keep trying to tell me that it was a penalty. And I just feel like, and I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but sometimes I feel like those two guys come together and gaslight me on certain things. And so I'm not gonna stand for it. I'm just going to continue to believe what I believe. Side note, 49ers news, they have opened Fred Warner's practice window. And if the news is that if they make it to the 49ers, if they make it to the NFC Championship, that Fred Warner could play in that game. He was out, I think, since week 5 or 6. He dislocated and broke his ankle. But there's videos of him out there doing, taekwondo and stuff like that. He's on the practice field. He looks ready to go. So if you're a 49er fan, there could be a chance of Fred Warner playing for the team next week. But 49ers against the Seahawks, I like that matchup better than 49ers against the Eagles, because the 49ers have played the Seahawks twice this year, obviously, and they just played 2 weeks ago. So there's familiarity there. It's top of mind. It's really, really hard to beat a team 2 times in a year. They split during the regular season. The 49ers won the first game. The Seahawks won the last game. But I like this matchup. I like the matchup just because of the familiarity, and always the 49ers Seahawks playoff games are always incredible. Always incredible. All right. Alex Bregman. He is now with the Cubs, 5 years, $175 million. And then the Cubs also included one thing that allows them, that allowed the Cubs to win the bid, basically. Jonathan says, Elo definitely messes with me. Gwen knows it's good radio to get you riled up. Clay says, so you think they conspire against you? Of course they do. Yes, of course they do. Anyway, Alex Bregman. He's with the Cubs now. He wanted to go back to the Red Sox. In fact, he was even reportedly able to, he was going to take 5 years, $165 million with the Red Sox. But according to the story that I'm reading, or I read earlier, the Bregman camp balked at the idea that the Red Sox would not put in a no trade clause. I first off, the reason they wanted a no trade clause is this quote: Bregman didn't want to risk the Sox ownership shifting lanes again and hiring an executive who saw him as a trade chip. In this case, I honestly think that Alex Bregman is in the right for this, because I don't know what's going on with the Red Sox. They seem to make a lot of willy-nilly moves. But if I'm Alex Bregman and I'm at the point in my career where I kind of dictate terms and things like that, a no trade clause is an easy yes if I am the Red Sox. And the reason is that tells me when they say you can't have a no trade clause because you're afraid that we're going to change up the executive office and we're going to trade you away, like that tells me that is a possibility. If you're the Red Sox and you you don't just give him the no trade clause, aren't you saying, hey, that actually could happen? That actually could happen. So we do want the opportunity to trade you later. By the way, if the Red Sox want to handle it right and they really do need to trade him, they can go to him and say, hey, we might need to trade you. Can we get some guidance on where you want to go or what kind of places you want to play? It doesn't make sense that the Red Sox wouldn't give him the no trade clause. It seems like no trade clauses. Well, in baseball, no trade clauses are not given out as much as they used to be. But I don't understand how you threw away a signing on the Red Sox over no trade clause, and now the reported where the Red Sox played themselves is the reports are the Red Sox didn't believe that Scott Boras and Alex Bregman had another offer that was better than the offer the Red Sox were offering. And so they absolutely did have a better offer, obviously, because the Cubs offered it. But if you're the Red Sox and you don't believe that someone's going to swoop and sign your player, I don't know what's going on in that front office. I don't know what's happening because it seems like they are dropping the ball on a lot of things. Now, you could say the Rafael Devers trade last year when he was traded from the Red Sox to the Giants. It was a sour relationship. But Alex Bregman, from all that I could see, was a good teammate, just did his job and did his job very, very, very well. And they said, no, we're good. We're not going to do the no trade clause. Also, the Red Sox insisted on deferred payments that would reduce the value of the contract, today's contract. So basically, they were trying to get him to accept a lesser deal. The Red Sox are the Red Sox are one of the most recognized sports franchises in the world. I do not believe for 1 minute that they are not in a good financial place. And so this is where Red Sox Reddit comes in, because Red Sox Reddit went off on this whole thing, and I read all of it. The Fenway Sports Group is who owns the Red Sox. And so I went and I got their their report of what is, under their portfolio. And so they have the Boston Red Sox, they have Liverpool FC, they have the Pittsburgh Penguins, they have Nesson, they have FSG Real Estate, which is actually something they built, a 5,000 person state-of-the-art music and entertainment venue that's in its first 4 months of operation, held 53 shows, 28 were sellouts. They also have sponsorships in place. But here's the thing about the Fenway Sports Group. When you make money as a team, that money does not, I haven't been able to see the exact financials, but it's pooled. So the money of all of these things goes into like a pool, and then they kind of distribute as needed. So when Liverpool FC needed to update their stadium, the Fenway, in the past 5 years, Fenway Sports Group has invested over 250 million pounds in Liverpool's FC's infrastructure and created world-class facilities for its players, staff, and supporters. So what the fans are saying, about the Red Sox and Fenway Sports Group is that Fenway Sports Group is the business and these are just products. And so ultimately the money is being made for the Fenway Sports Group instead of being made by the team and then being able to control how much money you put back into the team. And in a contract where Alex Bregman accepted $10 million more on the money front, $10 million is not a lot of money in the Red Sox world. Come on. Like, I can't believe that the Red Sox were worried about spending an extra $10 million. But fans of the Red Sox in this Reddit post were very angry because the money was being spent on Liverpool. I keep calling it Liberty. Liverpool FC's new stadium and area around the stadium. And the money is being spent on concert halls that go on at that was built at Fenway Park. The money is not funneling towards the team. Bottom line, the money is funneling towards the top, and then they distribute money to the team. And this is why I think I talked about this before the holiday break, but this is why I don't like investment groups buying up sports teams. Because to investment groups, everything is just about making money. It's not about producing a good product they want to produce a good product because it will make them more money in the long term, obviously. But they also are cool with producing a product that might be good enough to make a playoff run. They're producing the Fenway Sports Group. I'm getting ahead of myself now. The Fenway Sports Group is not concerned about the Red Sox. They're concerned about the Red Sox, Liverpool FC, the Pittsburgh Penguins, Nesson, and their real estate company. So in San Diego, we don't have this. And I know that there's, the team is exploring a sale. And I really hope that there's no investment group that comes in and does this, because I need someone who's going to own the Padres, and I need someone who's going to own the Padres and love the Padres. I don't need someone to come in and visit the Padres offices, 4 times a year, checking the books. I want someone that is involved in San Diego, that wants the Padres to be a great team, that wants the Padres to stand alone, and wants to invest money into the team. I don't need an investment group that's going to buy up teams and then the Padres money that they make is pooled into something where the Utah Jazz are doing stadium improvements and it comes out of the Padres pocket a little bit. I just don't know. I just don't. I just really am fearing the investment group, fearing an investment group coming here. It's just not going to be good. Skraby, this is such a poignant take. Be careful with the guy like Kroenke buying the pods. Now, Kroenke owns too many teams. He just owns too many teams. I don't need him to own another team. I want this Joe Lacob guy. I want Joe Lacob, the owner of the Warriors and of the Valkyries of the WNBA and other teams. I want Joe Lacob. I want a guy who we can see his face. We can cheer for him when he comes out on the field or boo him when he comes out on the field. But I want someone who cares about us. I do. All right. It's off my soapbox. Hopefully I explained that okay. I had a good time reading this report. It was like a 6-page report. I had a very, very good time doing that. But any profit that they make goes back into a pool of a bigger amount of money. All right. When we get back here on the Skraby Show, we're going to talk about some of the job openings in the NFL. And NFL.com put out a story ranking the different job openings. And as I was looking at these job openings, I was thinking to myself, which is the most attractive job? Well, there's one very important factor as to their rankings, and I'll tell you on the other side. Also, the Daily Grape. More Skraby Show on the way.
Quinn and Chris.
All guests on 97.3 The Fan. Join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. Matt Skraby, final segment of the Skraby Show. We still have the Daily Gripe to go. I actually have 2 Daily Gripes today. One was already a Daily Gripe I formed last night after the show, and then one was something that happened on my way to work today that was very upsetting. And as a creature of habit, it threw me off. I'll tell you about it in just a little bit. But we have some jobs open in the NFL. I think there's 8 or 9 now. Let me just make sure. I should have probably looked at this. 9. There's 9. And NFL.com ranked each job by most attractive to least attractive. Now, there was one thing that immediately hit me once I started reading this. There is actually one of the teams that I disagree with being an attractive destination, but there was one thing that immediately stood out to me, and that was, does the team already have a quarterback in place? If you already have a quarterback in place, then I think that job is whoever has the best quarterback, that job is most attractive. So NFL.com ranked the Ravens at number 1 because of Lamar Jackson, because of the offense, because of the guys that they have already, because of a seemingly no-nonsense type of organization at the top. I think the Ravens are a very attractive job. You immediately get a 2-time MVP in Lamar Jackson as your quarterback. So I'm not sure who's going to – Chris announced, or Chris was talking a little bit earlier about predictions of who's going to take jobs. Kevin Stefanski was the one that the article referenced as taking the Ravens job. I don't know what Kevin Stefanski puts in people's water when he goes in interviews, but if I'm a team, I'm looking at what he's done, and he hasn't done much. Yes, he's on the Browns, or he was with the Browns, but still, yeah, he won Coach of the Year a couple times, but for the most part, his teams were not that great. Not that great. So I don't understand it, but they have the Ravens number 1. I agree with that. Number 2 is the New York Giants. And the reason, Jackson Dart, Scattaboo. You also got Malik Neighbors. You have Abdul Carter on the other side. You have players in place for the Giants. You need to add a few more in order for them to become a contender. But with the Giants, you also are being hired to work with Joe Shane, who I still do not know why the Giants kept Joe Shane year after year after year. Saquon Barkley signs with the Eagles. Joe Shane still keeps his job. Now, that's not all of his fault, but some of the drafting moves that he's made, some of the roster moves that he's made, he's part of the problem for the Giants right now as to what their problems are. And you're going to keep him and have him fix the problem that he created? That would move the job down for me in my mind if Joe Shane, and that's, obviously I've never talked to Joe Shane, but still, I don't think that's you're attaching yourself. Dable didn't survive Joe Shane. Joe Shane survived Dable. So I don't know. The third team they have listed, Pittsburgh Steelers. After Mike Tomlin stepped down, I think the Steelers, they just don't have a quarterback. And in the draft coming up, there's not many quarterbacks that are considered generational. So the Steelers always have a good organization. They always have it pretty locked down from the top down. But the Steelers, I don't see as a team that is more attractive than, say, the Falcons, which is number 5 on this list. And the Browns are number 4. Now, the Browns I can kind of see because they have a bunch of young players. They have Quinshon Judkins, who got hurt. They have Harold Fannin Jr. They found something with Shedeur Sanders. They still have Dylan Gabriel. I think the Browns' job, the only thing that holds the Browns job back from being a good job is the ownership. The ownership is terrible with the Browns, and Browns fans tell me that all the time. General manager Andrew Berry is going to stay in his job. How can I forget? You got Myles Garrett on the team. You already have a good defense. So if you throw away the bad ownership of the Browns, I think this is one of the better jobs out there. I really do. They also the Falcons are number 5. This is how they start the article, which I think is hilarious. It's never a good sign when a consulting firm is brought in to take a look at how an organization works. It almost always results in change, whether the business is manufacturing widgets or trying to win football games. The house cleaning in Atlanta has taken place. Now, when you look at the Falcons, I think you look at ownership that cares. Arthur Blank cares. He may, not make the best decisions from time to time, but he cares a lot about his franchise. And I was talking about the Red Sox and how I want the Padres to have an owner that is, cares about the team. Arthur Blank is a guy I would like a type of guy I would like to own the Padres, because he cares and he puts in work and he puts in money and he doesn't he doesn't skimp. But they did also sign Kirk Cousins, which was a bad thing. So you got Kirk Cousins under contract. You got Michael Penix Jr. under contract. But you also have probably top 2 best running backs in the NFL and Bijan Robinson. You also have Drake London. You have some guys on defense. And the Falcons, my boss, Adam Klug, loves the Falcons. I think for me, the job is attractive because I have an ownership that wants to win. It's also attractive because I got someone like Bijan Robinson and Drake London, and I got a young quarterback in Michael Penix. So I don't know. On Twitch, by the way, we are on Twitch, 97.3 The Fan. Thank you for commenting. John Harbaugh to the Steelers, ? I don't see that happening, because there are 3 jobs in the AFC North that are open right now. You got the Ravens, you got the Browns, and you got the Steelers. I cannot see John Harbaugh. I mean, John Harbaugh would be a guy I could see him in Steelers colors. He's kind of like a Steelers type of guy. But I don't know that John Harbaugh would want to go to Pittsburgh. I'm not sure why I think that. I would think mainly because they don't have a quarterback right now. Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback, and who knows if he's going to play next year. So that's the other thing about that Steelers job. Like, can I trust anything that Aaron Rodgers says? Is he going to go on his ayahuasca trip and come back and be like, I don't want to play anymore, and now I'm stuck with Mason Rudolph as my starting quarterback going into the season? Yeah, I don't think I would want to deal with that if I was if I was a potential coach. I don't know that I would want to deal with that. Cardinals ranked number 7. They're a mess. They have terrible ownership. Kyler Murray, who knows if he's a quarterback of the future. Marvin Harrison Jr. has been a complete bust. I don't care what people say. He's not been good. He has not lived up to the hype. Trey McBride, on the other hand, is very good tight end, setting records. This is not a job I want. This is not a job I want. Unless I have in writing that you're going to give me 5 years to try to turn this thing around. This is not a job I want, because there's too much to be done. Same goes with the Titans. Now they do have a quarterback, Cam Ward. They have a high draft pick. They have about $100 million in cap space. But this seems like a job that is best suited for a first-time head coach type of guy, because this is going to be a while before the Titans are going to get. And then the Raiders. I don't think Max Crosby is going to be with the team, because he is angry after being shut down at the end of last year. And he actually went and posted pictures of or videos of him playing basketball with his kids to prove that his knee was okay. They have Geno Smith as their quarterback. That was maybe one of the that was the Geno Smith I thought that Seattle was going to get, but they got a souped up version of Geno Smith. The ownership, you have Mark Davis, but what has he done? What can he do? You got Tom Brady, who probably is taking a bigger role in the organization than we all realize. But I don't see the Raiders being attracted. Now, if someone came and offered me the job, I would take it. But it's a rebuild to the top, and you do get the number 1 overall pick. So that is nice as a head coach. You can choose the best player in the draft, and you can, have months leading up to that thinking about who you're going to choose. But I'm not thinking the Raiders are going to be great anytime soon. I don't think so. I like when the Raiders are good. I don't have any problems when the Raiders are good, but it just seems like they are never good. Oh, I forgot the Dolphins. The Dolphins were in here at number 6. Now, the Dolphins, we're going to go back to the quarterback situation with the Dolphins. Are they going to keep Tua? Are they going to try to trade Tua? Are they going to cut Tua? Chris was telling us before the show. The Denver Broncos parted ways with Russell Wilson, even though they owed him a ton of money, and it ended up working out okay for them. The Dolphins are going to need to search for a new quarterback because it does not seem like Tua and the Dolphins have a good relationship anymore. And it does not, I don't even know if Tua is in a place to get better. I think when they asked him, do you think you want a new change of scenery? Or do you think you want to change the scenery? He said, yeah, that would be dope. Like, he wants out of there. So that's another situation. But Miami's always a nice place to live. And people love Miami. So you can go live there as well.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
I'm going to have to ask Adam about something that happened during the morning show. I keep seeing this commentary about something that happened earlier. I'm going to have to ask Adam for some, what happened, dude? What happened, dude? All right, my daily gripe is twofold. This one, last night, I get done with work, going to go drive home, watch the big Monday Night Football playoff game, and I had to go to the grocery store. So I went to the grocery store real quick, got all my stuff, under the 15 items. But here's where my daily gripe is. When lines are not clearly formed, I have no idea what to do. And that always, when lines are not clearly formed, that always ends up in someone cutting the line and someone getting mad. And I saw that happen yesterday. So the self-checkout, every time I've been in this store, the self-checkout lines actually end up going down like the beer aisle. So they just go straight back. But yesterday, there were people on the left. There were people on the right. There were people actually in the real line. So I didn't know where to go. So I ended up going to the real line. And then someone cut the real line. And then the guy in the front of the real line said, hey, this is actually the line. And everybody else was like, I don't care. I'm going for it. That's my daily gripe. Like, we need some lines to be. We need the store. We need people to tell us what to do. I need the store to put lines down so we know. Where are we waiting? And I don't know that they actually want us to be lining up down the beer aisle because then it just blocks people from getting beer. But figure it out. Tell us where to stand. It's the same thing with 7-Eleven during COVID. Actually, 7-Eleven during COVID put little dots on the floor so you knew where to stand, and they were 6 feet apart. And I wish we could go back to the social distancing stuff, but we can't. Now, here is what happened today when I showed up to work. There is a line of parking spots on one side of the building, and usually there's something open by the time I get here because people end up going to lunch or whatever, and so I have a spot. But when I get here and there are no spots open, as a creature of habit, this makes me very upset. This makes me feel very weird about things. And then when my secondary spot is taken, I had to go park in Timbuktu today. My car is in Timbuktu because I could not and I was not able to get my parking spot. So man. That's brutal. Anybody else like that, or am I just a weirdo that ends up only feeling okay with their day if they park in the same spot? Now that I say that out loud, it's kind of weird. But I think people understand it. I just want to get to work, get in my spot, get upstairs. All right, that's it for today's Skraby Show. Thank you to everybody who joined. Thank you to everybody who listened. We'll be back tomorrow. We have Evan Drelich on Gwen and Chris. He's going to talk about the business of baseball. We also have a sports court, and we'll have lots more on the other side. Tomorrow. Thank you for listening to the Skraby Show. I will have a great night. I hope you have a great night as well.